Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Mandy Bass, and you are at the Speaker Maximize series, Get Booked, Get Paid. I'm Mandy Bass, the founder of Free Speaker Bureau, and I want to welcome all of you who are here today. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time introducing myself today because many of you know me already. My name is Mandy Bass, and I am the founder of Free Speaker Bureau. Just really briefly, I started coaching in the mid-90s and built my business from speaking opportunities and have helped dozens and hundreds of people actually do the same thing. So I began Free Speaker Bureau a few years ago in the hopes of helping experts, authors, coaches, and speakers build their business through speaking opportunities and to be able to match meeting organizers with speakers, because it used to be very, very difficult. And so now we have a lot of options open to us. I'm doing today's webinar because I see so many speakers struggling unnecessarily because they don't have the vision of where the money is and how to use this incredible opportunity that we've provided, how to use it to really build a successful business. And I get a lot of questions, a lot of emails every single day. And I want to be able to show you what you need to know and help you grow your business. Many years ago, I moved from California to Florida. And when I did, I had to get a new driver's license. But when I took my driver's license test, they made me do an eye test. And I failed the eye test. So I had to get a doctor to get me a letter so that I could drive in Florida, so I could get a Florida's driver's license. It was really interesting because my eyes had gotten gradually more and more blind over the years. I never really noticed just how terrible my vision was until I was finally able to go to Bascom Palmer, which is a very good eye hospital, eye institute, as most of you probably already know. And they diagnosed me with having a disease called keratoconus. And what they did was they concocted a strategy, which was to piggyback one contact lens on top of another. So they would put a soft lens to create a cushion and then a hard lens on top of that so that it would be steep enough for me to be able to see through this cone-shaped cornea. And when I finally got contact lenses that worked, it was this incredible eye-opening experience, literally and figuratively. And Bascom Palmer in Miami is near downtown. And for those of you who've been to Miami and been to Miami Beach, you know that it's a long way to get over the causeway from Miami all the way to Miami Beach. You go through the port and past all the beautiful homes on Star Island and Fisher Island and all those places. And so when I was able to get these contact lenses on for the very first time, I was so excited about how incredibly beautiful everything looked and how bright and shiny that I got into my car and I drove over that causeway back and forth all day because it was just so beautiful, and I was so grateful to be able to see. And, that's how things are in our lives. We don't realize sometimes that things are in front of us. We don't even know that they're there because our vision hasn't been tuned in to be able to see it. And another time I remember being lost in the North Carolina woods with my girlfriend, and we had strayed just a little bit off path, just a little bit off path. And we were in Transylvania County going to the waterfalls, and you could hear the waterfall, but it took us forever to actually find a path to get back onto that path in order to be able to see it. We were right there. We were right close to it, but unable to see what we came to see. And so I find that a lot of people in this business are operating in the same way without having really good vision. And so today I want to sort of give you a little bit of a GPS. I want to show you where the money is and how to maximize your membership in Free Speaker Bureau. And so just like with the GPS, you've got to put your direction, you've got to put your goal into that, where you're going, where your destination is, into that GPS, or it's going to take you to the wrong place no matter how sophisticated your technology. And so we need to keep those things in mind when we're negotiating our way through our business. So today I want to answer your most frequently asked questions, questions I get a lot of every single day. And so that's why I wanted to do this webinar. And I also want to inform you about some of the resources we offer, help you find and leverage speaking opportunities, and the ways in which you can get paid to kind of expand your view a little bit and open your mind to some things that you may not have thought of yet. And this is going to be a broad view program today. I'm not going to dive very deep because we've got a lot to cover. And next session, I'm going to be talking about how to capture attention in an ADD world. So we're going to talk more specifically. That's going to be more of a sort of workshop, whereas this, I'm kind of touching on a lot of different topics to help you broaden your scope and think about different ways that you might restructure things so that you can have a systemized structure that supports more of what you have to offer, a more profitable way of presenting yourself. So we're going to talk about how to use the site to land both paid and free gigs. And I'm hoping that you'll be open to some of the possibilities that we'll be discussing today. And I want to talk to you a little bit about leveraging some of the resources. So I like to treat other people like I like to be treated, the golden rule, do unto others. And so I don't know about you, but I'm getting really sick and tired of so many people just pushing stuff in webinars over the web. And it just seems like it's like a barrage of things that people are pitching. And so today I am not going to sell you anything. And if you came to this webinar hoping to hear the perfect webinar to do a sales pitch with, you're going to be disappointed because there is no pitch. I will be telling you about some of the things that are available to you, and if you're interested, you can follow up, but I am not going to be doing any sales pitches. We're not going to be diving too deep into any one topic because, as I said, there's too much to cover. And this is not going to be a repeat of any of the other programs I've offered. Now, I will have to touch on some things just to bring back some concepts, but this is a totally fresh new program, and it's totally in response to the questions that I've gotten from the speakers over the last few months, and I felt it was important to address some of the issues that I'm seeing now.
So you've taken the time out of your schedule, so let's make the most of this hour or so that we have together. Please turn off your emails, close them so you're not distracted by them if you haven't done that. Turn off your cell phone. Turn it off so that you can't see it. We only have an hour together, an hour and a half, and let's make the most of it. And if you can, get a notepad and take notes. And let me make a suggestion how you should do that. Draw a line about 3/4 of the way across the page on a notepad and about 3/4 of the way down. That way you can take your notes and you can mark it the way I'm showing you on the screen, notes on the top left hand, Ask Mandy on the top right hand, and at the bottom block underneath, ideas. So that way, if ideas as I'm speaking pop up into your mind that you should maybe look into or research that are something to do with building your business, you can put them in a separate area than you do the notes that you're taking for this webinar. Otherwise, what I find happens is that everything just becomes one big conglomeration and no one looks at their notes and then nothing really happens. So if you separate it that way immediately when you get all, you can decide, where you want to put those ideas and what you want to do with those notes. So as I mentioned before, we have a whole range of experience of people on this call today. Some people are totally new to Free Speaker Bureau, new to the business of speaking. We have some people who are beyond that and at their growth stages, and we have other people who are in total transition that are they may have a lot of experience in what they were doing before, and maybe they've retired or given up that career, and now they're looking to go into something else and to use speaking as a way to promote their business or become professional speakers or whatever. And then we also have some seasoned pros who want to be infused with more revenues, want to get more gigs, want to get more reach, want to get more revenues. And so we have a lot of different people here. I'm going to be speaking, if I can, to all of you. I'll do my best and make it interesting for everybody and do my best also not to go over everybody's head. Okay, so I'm not going to spend very long on the slide, even though there's a lot of points on here. Just very briefly what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about some of the biggest mistakes our speakers make, what the gurus are talking about that they aren't telling you about succeeding through speaking. I want to talk a lot about the foundation for growing your business going forward, where you can find the speaking gigs, how you can get paid from events, tips for creating a perfect pitch that'll get you booked, some of the tools that you need to have and what needs to be in them. We're going to also talk a little bit about short versus long-term strategies, because really this is a long game. This is not a short game. Getting into speaking, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Mainly, you're dealing with events. Events are booked quite a ways out. So this is mostly a long-term strategy. You want to think about your structure and so on within that. So we'll be talking a little bit about that, why a disciplined focus is so important, the importance of peer groups and how to practice when you come up with something new or different or are looking for ways to improve. And then also we'll discuss what's coming up in the future. So the biggest mistake experts make, or the biggest mistakes, is the first one that I see most often is what I call the professional speaker syndrome. And the problem is that we are in a new economy and things are shifting and changing all the time. So there are a lot of people who have grown up, let's just say, use that term, or have grown in an environment that is shifting and changing. I mean, I remember in 2009, I had a very robust speaking business, and when the big crash happened, I dealt mainly in financial services and with financial services firms and CPA firms, and when the big recession happened, within 2 years, my business had to totally transform and shift. And we've gone through a lot of changes, and we'll continue to go through a lot of changes with technology, with different kinds of people that are being targeted by the groups that you used to speak for in the past. There's so much going on. It's such a dynamic environment that it's very important to pay attention to different ways that you can improve your business, that you can improve the structure of your business and be able to adapt. And sometimes it takes a lot of testing. I told you the story about getting those double contact lenses when I was diagnosed with keratoconus, and what a difference that made. But I didn't make a difference right away. They had to try. It was very frustrating going through trying different things, different types of lenses, and putting different types of prescriptions together in order to get the prescription strong enough and focused enough for me to be able to see. And sometimes when we are in transitional stages of our business, we have to try different kinds of things and be able to test a few different things and see what ultimately works for us, not get so fixated in the way we want to do things. And a lot of times professional speakers have come to the table through NSA feeling really sure that the only thing they're ever going to do are paid keynote engagements. And while that is a great strategy, it should not be your only strategy unless you're one of the top people in the business, unless you're one of the top keynoters in the business that never have to go. You're so well known, you have so many books, you've got such a reputation that people already know you. And most of those people are not here today because they're speaking somewhere for, high five figures somewhere. So because of that, it's very important to at least be open to some of these other ideas that I'm going to present to you in terms of how to make money from speaking. On the other hand, those of you who are just starting out and maybe selling a product or a service or maybe using some of the other strategies that I'm going to talk about today, those of you that have done that, you shouldn't be closed to doing paid keynote engagements. So it works both ways. You need to be flexible, and you need to have a plan of action for how you would approach those things, and recognize that when you're doing a free talk at a local organization, what is expected of you is different than if you're addressing human resource organization with 300 to 500 people in the audience, or even in a workshop that they're giving you to do with 50 or 100 people in their workshop. So each situation is a little bit different, and you want to be able to take your talk, your presentation, and not reinvent the wheel, but be able to see how you adapt that to those different situations and have some kind of a strategy. You don't have to know each presentation totally off by heart until you get to a place where you're actually going to present it, but at least you want to have a strategy for how you'll do that. So if somebody says to you, we have this great opportunity, let's say you've been practicing a 20-minute, talk, and, we have this, 2-hour workshop opportunity, that you have some idea about how you would go about that, so that it's not that you have to have the workshop ready, it's that you have to have the confidence to be able to get that opportunity when it gets available. And often it's simply a matter of having thought through your business model, having thought through how you're going to do it, so that when not each, micro detail, but just an overview, so that when those opportunities present themselves, you have confidence, because everything in your presentation is about confidence. You can have the greatest content in the world, but if you don't have the confidence to actually go out and make a good pitch and seem like you're the one that they're going to choose, it's not going to happen for you. So you always want to check that. The other mistake that people make is that their value ladder isn't strong enough. And when I talk about a value ladder, those of you who've done the Speaking Fortunes training or even done, just looked at the Expert Advantage webinar, I talk a lot about your value ladder. Most of the people are just scraping the top of the iceberg in what's possible for you. Typically, your first entry point for your clients is basically what we call a self-liquidating offer. Typically, that's not what's going to build your business. It's about engaging people and getting them, turning them from prospect or suspect into an actual client. But there's not a big revenue stream typically on the entry point in which people start doing business with you. So you need to make sure that you have a value ladder that's well built out so that when you do get a client, you've always got somewhere to take them where they're getting more value from you and you're giving more value to them, so that you're extracting more money for more value. So you just want to make sure that your value ladder is well thought through and well structured. And the other mistake is that they're not growing their audience and income opportunities, which goes back to that professional speaker syndrome that I was talking about in the very beginning. So just for you to have a look at the landscape of sort of who else is out there and what they're doing. There are over 1 million new books published each year. And you may argue, well, yes, some of those people are publishing more than one book, but that's a lot of books to be published every year. Most people don't write a book every year. So there's a lot of authors and experts out there. There's a lot of accredited life coaches out there. In a 2012 study, that there was 47 by ICF. There was close to 50,000 accredited, their accreditation of life coaches. And most life coaches I know are not accredited through those associations. They've done other work, and that's not done. So the estimate is that right now in the United States alone, there are over 200,000 coaches. And as professional speaker members in the NSA, and most of the professional speakers that I know no longer belong to NSA, but they have 3,677 professional speakers. So that's the landscape that we're in, and that's just so that you know what your competition is and what you're competing with. Not to be afraid of it by any means, but to understand the importance of positioning, understanding the importance of structuring your business in the right way so that you have a lucrative business opportunity. You can't just show up and expect people to go, oh, wow, isn't he or she fabulous? Because there's lots of other he or she. So you have to be well positioned and you have to have a business model that makes sense for you to do well in this industry. Forbes magazine said that 95% of professional speakers are making under $10,000 per talk. So that's the reality of the professional speaking business. And even those speakers who make over $20,000 per talk are doing some sort of free talk, some sort of alternative revenue model other than paid speaking engagements. But, there are those few who don't need to do anything other than Keynote, but even most of them don't want to leave money on the table. And so, that is something that you need to really think about. Do you have the luxury of only doing keynotes, or do you need to bring in another model to your business? Often the opportunities in guest gigs are bigger than the paid speaking opportunities, but you're not going to know. It's only if you know what you're doing. It's only if you have the value ladder built out. It's only if you have some other way of getting paid. You're not just by showing up and doing a good talk is not going to help you in your business unless you have a strategy. Or several different strategies. The other thing that you need to realize is that very often when everyone is doing whatever it is that they're doing, there's so many gurus out there telling you the exact formula to do everything. Often it is no longer working by the time you get to it, because most strategies have a cycle. And when everybody starts to do the same thing, it stops working. I don't know whether you've noticed that. So, for example, when I started in the coaching business, it was really before most people had email. And I started doing email marketing, and email marketing was fantastic. I think I was one of the first people I knew to actually have a website. And email marketing was fantastic. And now what happens when you do email marketing? It's not that you still get a good return on investment, but a lot of people don't open your emails anymore. So then there was a phase where, it was a lot about content writing. And so then that became, because everybody was doing it, that became less effective. And now, there's the videos and social media. I was doing social media in 2008 or 9. And, now everybody's doing it. So things start, as everybody starts to catch up on a specific trend or a certain trend, you need to keep in mind that it may not work as well. And the reason that I wanted to do is introduce some new information to you that have been around here a long time today is because I'm starting to see that, it's getting harder and harder sometimes to get some of these local gigs. And so what are some other ways that we can get paid? What are some other ways that we can build our value ladder if we get less and less opportunities for speaking in certain areas and build those opportunities in other areas? The most bookings that people get, the most speaking opportunities that people get come from people who've seen you speak. So you have to find ways, and it doesn't really matter how you're speaking. So if people may have seen you at a local Rotary Club, they may see you at a big convention speaking to thousands of people. They may see you at your own event. They may see you wherever they see you speaking at somebody else's event. One of the things that people overlook a lot of times are joint ventures, being able to speak at other people's events. And most people are going to get booked because there's some influencer, either somebody on the board, a meeting planner, a member, some member of the organization that has seen you speak, and that person has recommended you. And so you'll still need to have, the other things in place in order to get that booking from the meeting planner. But typically, one of the first hurdles is having other people see you speak so they can say, yes, I've seen that person speak. I can recommend that person. And I'll talk more about that when I talk about LinkedIn and using social media in a little bit. So free talks tend to be easier to get. You can choose how far you want to travel, and they present, those of you that have seen my Expert Advantage webinar or have done the Speaking Fortunes training with me, you know what a great opportunity speaking can provide you and how to build that out. And I'm not going to get into that today because you've got those resources elsewhere. Free obviously doesn't mean that you're not making any money from the speaking. You need to just open yourself up to other systems of succeeding through speaking. So as I've mentioned before, one of the ways that you can increase your income is to build out your value ladder of personal products and services. And when I say personal products and services, what I probably should have said, which would have been more precise language, is saying one-to-one products and services. So meaning that maybe you have a retreat that people come to, or a workshop, or maybe you have a online membership program, or maybe you have a coaching program, or maybe you sell a specific product, maybe you sell a water system, or whatever it is, maybe you offer relationship counseling. So That's a one-to-one, and over here I've called it a personal product, but I really mean a one-to-one product and service. And even in that would be your group coaching programs, but basically you're selling something to an individual. So you want to figure out, if you have that, how are you building your value ladder for that person, being able to give them more value and to receive more money in return, walking them up that value ladder each time. Another way to build out your value ladder, which I'm not seeing enough people doing, because this is probably the most lucrative of all products and services that come to you from speaking. And again, speaking is the best way to get these gigs or to be able to be invited to these gigs. But that is through corporate training. What I mean is that you're going to be offering your services to a company and within that company. I'm going to go into that in an individual slide in a moment. So I'll talk more about that then. The other way you can build your business is through joint ventures or alliances that are based on your target audience. So maybe you have a message that really aligns, or a target audience that aligns with some type of a non-profit group, or maybe it aligns with some other type of for-profit group, or somebody else who offers a non-competing product or service that's in the same target group of you. Working together to create joint ventures and alliances that come around, that are formed around that target audience, could be hugely profitable for you. So you want to think about who are some of the people that are marketing to the same people that you're marketing to, and look for ways that you can joint venture with them. I have one client, for example, is a marketing coach to the building industry and the remodeling industry. And so they've created joint alliances or joint ventures with people who sell software to that industry, who sell CRM type software, and it's been very successful. They've also created joint ventures with manufacturers of certain types of product, of certain roofing products, different bath and products and kitchen products. So they've created those kinds of joint ventures. They joint venture with people who provide marketing services that are different, and maybe digital marketing that they're not currently doing. And that way they cross-market with each other. So this is how you take your speaking opportunities and expand what might be something that only was worth a few $100s or a few $1,000s to you before, and expand it into tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business. So you need to be thinking about your business model and your business structure. Another great way to be able to supplement your income and sometimes be the focal point of your income is through corporate sponsorships. Now, corporate sponsorships are really great, especially if you're doing events. And again, I have another full slide on that, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I just want to let you know that for those of you who either have not seen the Expert Advantage webinar or who want to see it again or missed it somehow, and you want to let us know, and we will send you that information, because I give you a lot of tips of increasing your conversions. And this is really for people who are selling their product or service through speaking and wanting to build out the value ladder. The Speaking Fortunes training really helps you build out your value ladder and, teaches you how to leverage your speaking opportunities. But I'm not going to rehash all that. That's an 8-module course that is a fee-based course. The Expert Advantage Secrets is a free webinar, but Speaking Fortunes does have a reasonable price tag to it. But it's excellent information on building out your business model. And if you don't feel comfortable about your business model, that may be something you want to consider. The two biggest missed opportunities that I do want to talk to you about today are the corporate training and the corporate sponsorships that I do go into slightly but I don't go into it in depth. And I wanted to just touch on it a little bit more in depth because I see more and more of you that have that you may not realize that you have this really gold mine of opportunity that you're not really pursuing. And I want to try to motivate you and inspire you today to think about these two aspects. So corporate training is a $355 billion business. It's a lot of money, but it's a very big business, and it's a great way to leverage the programs that you currently have. So, for example, if you have a program on how to avoid burnout, let's just say, that you're doing individually to your one-to-one market, you want to find industries where you can leverage that same basic content. There are people in companies that are very worried about absenteeism and about losing their best employees and about losing their leadership and about losing diversity. So there's all kinds of issues that companies have. I'll talk about this a little bit more later, but there's all kinds of opportunities that, how can you take your current individual program and turn that into something that you can present in a company that can be of great value to that company. It needs to be around a pain point that people understand that they have. You cannot typically convince a company that they need something that they don't already know. So you can't expect them to look at your program and make those connections that aren't naturally there. Most of you have something that's naturally there, but you have to dig deep to find it. So what you need to do is bring that to the forefront of your mind so that you have a plan for like how are you going to pitch a corporation is going to be a little bit different. It could be the same content, the same workshop, but how you pitch it, how you market it has to be how it's going to solve their problems, not just the problems of the employees. Another reason you want to do corporate training is because you can get paid up front. Typically, when I do corporate training, and I've done a lot of it, I'm getting 50% deposit up front and 50% completion. And it doesn't matter if you've worked in corporate before, as long as you're an expert in what you're doing. You just have to show them that you know what you're doing. They don't care what companies you may have worked for before. On the other hand, if you have worked with other companies that are big companies, you want to mention who they were. So it doesn't mean that you can't get a corporate gig if you haven't done corporate before. It just means you need to show yourself as the expert. And another good reason that you want to do corporate training is that it's repeatable and scalable. And it's a gateway to much larger opportunities and other revenue streams. When I talked in my Expert Advantage Secrets presentation about the one gig that I did that brought me $255, I forget what the exact number was now, $255,000, something in that range. Over $100,000 of that came from one corporate opportunity that I was able to leverage. There are so many opportunities in corporations, and unfortunately, corporations have a lot of the money right now. That's where, if you've looked at what's gone on in the stock market lately and how people how the balance of income is in this country, corporations are the ones that are getting richer and richer, and that's probably just going to get more that way. So, go where the money is. If you know that to be a fact, look at those corporations and see how you can provide value to them. Look to see what are their pain points, what are the things that they worry about, and start creating programs. Another reason that you want to do corporate training, or that you might want to do corporate training, is that a lot of you are promoting things on webinars online. And this is a very difficult medium because you don't get to be face-to-face. So right now, I do not know if any of you are taking notes. I don't know if you're paying attention to me. I don't know if you're reading your emails. I don't know if you've left the room. I don't know any of that. So it's very difficult for me in this presentation to see what's engaging you and what's not. And so even when I'm creating a membership type website where I'm creating a lot of content, I like to have live training. And the reason I like to do live training first is because that's how I know when content is working, when it's not. I can feel the audience in the room. I can answer their questions. It's a very different environment. And yes, it doesn't always translate online, but pretty much the content does. So you know what works. You know where there's problems. You know where people have confusion. And that is a very helpful thing no matter what kind of business model you have. The other reason why I love corporate training is because it only takes one client to make tens of thousands of dollars versus, selling one client into a coaching program or into something, it's normally only a few $100s, and then you have, it's a resell and a resell, whereas a corporation is different. And yes, it does sometimes take longer to make that sale, but when you get that sale, you've got a lot of opportunity. And typically, if you know what you're doing, you can really leverage yourself into that company and sell something else and a coaching program and a year-long program. And there's lots and lots and lots of things you can do within an organization once you're in. So you spend less time selling. There are global opportunities for those of you who like to travel. And you get your message out. So, most of us, and I would include myself in this group, are really passionate about the things that we're passionate about. And we got into this business because we had a mission and we had a purpose. And for me, I just think that anything that can get us in front of an audience where we can be fulfilling our purpose rather than behind a computer, that's a good day. That's a good day when we're able to do that, when we can deal with less technology, less selling, and more delivery of what we feel really compelled to do. So here's the question. Does your program, or whatever it is that you're offering, does your program have corporate training potential? And the answer to that comes in the answer to this. There are 4 areas of pain points for corporations. They're people. Getting the most productivity from their people, having the best human resources, leadership, all those people-related things, less absenteeism, more productivity. Those are your people kinds of things. People things also relate to health and wellness. You could be selling a weight loss program to a person one-on-one, and maybe you're a weight loss coach, right? But what if you were doing wellness for a group of corporate executives at a leadership retreat? I want you to expand how you're thinking about delivering your content. I want you to think bigger and brighter and to have more impact. I want you to think about how could you maximize it. Now, it is true that when you go into a corporation, and those people who know me who've come through my mastermind groups, and I'm always tweaking your language because I started teaching mindfulness and meditation into the financial services industry in 1996, guys. I was teaching meditation, and I was teaching the whole thing about beliefs, and I was doing self-hypnosis programs in those groups, teaching people to reprogram their unconscious minds. It was unheard of, but you never, ever, ever heard me use the word meditation. I never used the word mindfulness. Now, of course, we're going back a long time, 20 years, but you have to change some of your delivery in how you deliver it. I would talk about thought experiments and I would talk about, how to, let's do a mental focus exercise, So we would do all these, I was still teaching my basic program, but I just changed the language so that people in corporations would be able to adjust to it, and they wouldn't, run and tell their supervisor that I was doing some kind of weird thing. So you want to keep that in mind, but it's very easy to do, and nowadays people are a lot more open-minded than when I started doing this a long time ago. So you've got the people issues. You also have process issues. Can you help them be more productive, more efficient? Are there ways? So maybe you are a feng shui provider, but heck, you might be able to teach them how to improve their processes, using an ancient Chinese system or whatever. So just think about, no matter what you're doing, and I'm bringing, really sort of obscure kinds of things to your attention here, but it's because I want you to think beyond where you've been thinking. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you know how that goes, right? You're going to get what you've been getting. So how can you think about what you do differently to different markets and be able to basically teach the same thing, change some of your language, and be able to deliver incredible value and get incredible value back in return. The other thing what people want to do is improve their product. And, of course, they want to improve their profits. So if you can help them in any of those things, maybe it's in financial management or maybe you sell software or whatever, you can one of those 4 areas, if you can solve some of their problems in one of those 4 areas, then you have the potential for a corporate training program. And what that does for you is it opens you up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, because a lot of the meetings that come through the site are big regional conferences where people get together, whether they're in the retail industry or the car business or they're human resource managers or there's some type of industry events. These are people where decision makers are coming to those conferences, and for you to get out in front of them, it no longer needs to be a local opportunity for you anymore. Now it makes sense for you to be able to go somewhere and pitch. Can you imagine how long it would take to get in front of, if you were trying to offer corporate training and you were to get in front of 200 or 300 business owners in one room? I mean, what is that worth to you? And I just want you to open your mind to the possibilities and figure out a way that can take what you've already done and systematize it, but just to be sort of open that there may be other things out there that you are not considering right now. If you're an expert who can solve any of those pain points, you have a corporate training possibility. Okay, another area I need to kind of move on here is corporate sponsorship. Corporate sponsorship is a $13 billion industry, and the reason corporate sponsorship is becoming such a growing industry is because companies are finding it harder and harder to get in front of their target audience, because we're no longer, we're now doing TiVo. We're no longer, we're able to get our news in totally different ways than what it may have been 10 or 15 years ago. So there's a lot of companies who are looking for opportunities to get in front of an audience. And if you have some type of a business model where you offer events on a regular basis, you may want to think about how to integrate corporate sponsorship into your business model. So corporate sponsorship, for those of you not quite familiar with this concept, it's a cash or in-kind fee paid in return for access to your group. So you've probably seen corporate sponsorship. If you attend any kind of association events, you've probably seen people who have tables and they're sponsoring the event in some way, or they have a booth. That's a very traditional way at some type of event. But you would also, for example, have a corporate sponsorship if somebody puts their logo on your website. If you do, you may offer some type of introduction to or some type of a special to your group on their behalf. And basically, you can have an in-kind or a cash sponsorship. So with corporate sponsorship, you could have media sponsors, you can have hospitality sponsors. Those are the kind that would be like in-kind or beverage sponsors. Those would be in-kind sponsors. But you can also get cash sponsors. And the thing that drives the corporate sponsorship business is really your target audience. In other words, they're interested in your audience. So if your target audience is, for example, caregivers, then you want to see who else is targeting that market. If your target audience is baby boomers or millennials, which is kind of big as far as the market is concerned, but let's say millennials in the Atlanta area, then you want to see who else is targeting millennials in the Atlanta area, or if it's in the greater Georgia area, who else is targeting millennials in the greater Georgia area, and that's how you can find out who could be potentially good sponsors for you. Now, sponsorship is not free money. You know, you don't have to sell your soul in order to have a corporate sponsorship program, but it's not free money. They are expecting something in return. So you want to make sure that you are very ethical in all your communication, that you don't promise something that you can't deliver, but you want to make sure that you develop a partner relationship with those corporate sponsors. But corporate sponsoring is an excellent way to add value, especially if you're doing events and especially if you have a year-long program. The best way to sell a corporate sponsorship is not for a specific event, but rather an annual sponsorship that basically they become sponsors of your brand, where they may have a logo on your website. They may get that you may mention them in an email. You may mention them in your blog. You may feature their logo in your membership area or in your group Facebook page. You know, where it's like a combination of things that you're getting that if they want to get in front of the same audience that you have. But you don't, and you can also, if you're doing an event, offer them a speaking opportunity at that event. So there's a lot of different ways, and you can set the rules. They don't set the rules. You set the rules. The more people that you cater to, the bigger your audience, the easier it is to get sponsors, obviously. So you could give them access and exposure to your audience in all the different ways that you currently get your message out. You can also offer them introductions to other sponsors that you may have a relationship with. You can do cross-promotions. Another reason that somebody might want to sponsor you is if your organization is tied to some type of a charitable cause, because then it ties them to that charitable cause. We already talked about displaying a table at your event, having an ad in your program or on your website, giving them VIP passes, and sometimes that's a great way to also fill your event. So if they're sponsoring your event, you can give them a number of VIP passes or a table, and then they will come and also fill your event for you. You can include them in your pre-event. Now, remember that marketing happens in three ways, right? It happens before the event, at the event, and post-event. So you can in your package for each of your events that you might have, you can include your corporate sponsors for that. And if you have a year-long coaching program, you can somehow include their logo or something in your coaching program or on your emails or whatever as part of your corporate sponsor program. Okay, so are you guys getting some ideas? Are you getting some ideas now? Okay, good. So regardless of your monetization model, and I'm not saying like change gears and stop doing what you're doing immediately. What I'm saying is consider these possibilities and integrate some of them into your business model. Have a plan that sort of thinks these things out and then try them. And you may find that some ideas work and some don't, but these are huge opportunities. These are hundreds of thousands of dollars of opportunity, not just like a little opportunity. So it's worth just trying it and making those phone calls. Look, I tell you what, there's nothing in business that's really like easy where, wham, there you go, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I wish it was that way, and maybe it's that way for some people, but, it's for most people, we have to work pretty hard to get where we want to go. But the question is, where do you want to put your focus? Where do you want to invest your energy? And I just wanted to bring some of these things down to you today to say, consider this, consider expanding your possibilities, consider thinking about different ways that you can use your speaking skills, that you can use what you've developed to really break through the mold that you've created and break through that ceiling to get to somewhere else, somewhere bigger, better, and that gives you a lot more opportunity. It all boils down to your positioning. Who is your target audience? And how do you differentiate yourself? And in the Speaking Fortunes training, those of you that have been through it, I hope you've done that work. I think it's like the second or third module. We spent the whole module on that. And I know that course is a lot of work, but once you've done it, you really should be solid in terms of your business model, in terms of your positioning, to where creating the perfect pitch or creating your speaker's bio or doing any of those things really helps you do it easily because you've got all the foundation done. And I know everybody likes shortcuts, but sometimes, doing that foundational work, there just isn't a substitute for it. Our mission here is to make us your best investment. We want to be your best investment and provide you with all the resources that you need to be successful and put you in direct contact with those meeting organizers, because we're not the middleman. The reason that we do everything so inexpensively, all the things that we do through us are so inexpensive, is because we're not creating a whole lot of layers. And our hope is to be able to service all of you and get you those opportunities in a way that's very effective and affordable. And yes, could you hire a full-time person to be, doing some of this work? Absolutely. And they may do a great job, but it's just going to cost you a lot more money. And even if you do have somebody who's helping you on a full-time basis, this is going to save them a whole lot of time. So that's our goal, is to provide you with a really comprehensive lot of opportunities and also the education that you need to be successful and to succeed through speaking. I get these questions all the time, and so I wanted to address this today. On the Free Speaker Bureau platform, when you put your profile there, that's where organizations can find you and contact you through the site. So that is, but there are thousands of speakers, if you haven't noticed, on the Free Speaker Bureau. So what we've done is we've created a premium membership, and most of you here today are at least premium members, where you get a digest twice a week of all the new speaking opportunities. And so typically we are averaging right now about 100 or so regional and national speaking opportunities. Sorry about that typo. So that's how you're getting speaking opportunities, in addition to organizations finding you. As things grow, obviously differentiating yourself becomes more and more important. The professional members have access to an additional association list, which gives you a lot of information of 27,000 associations all across the country that have chapters, and it tells you when their big meetings are, and it gives you a lot of information, a lot of their phone numbers, in some instances when their meetings are, if they have publications. And so that you can also contact people directly through there. I never say only use us. You should have lots of different strategies for getting speaking opportunities that are working for you all the time. I would never suggest to you that you don't go anywhere or do anything else in order to get opportunity. That would be silly. So the other thing that our premium professional elite members have is an event archive. And with that event archive, those are the old speaking opportunities that we have already done. And but what's good about those opportunities is that if you're really focused on getting paid keynote engagements, then this would be the strategy that I would recommend for you, because a lot of times an organization will pick their keynoters first. So they may come to us and they may have, some keynote addresses, but if you can get a head start on organizations who have annual meetings and you know when those annual meetings are, you can use that to kind of get yourself into that organization ahead of time. Especially the paid keynotes are booked way, way in advance. And many of the meetings are booked way, way in advance. So, they have to have that, because before they can promote a meeting, and put out in order for them to promote, they have to put out what the agenda is, what workshops are going to be presented. So they have to have that way in advance. So that's why this is very much, if you're looking at doing this seriously, it is a long view. It is a long-term strategy just because of the deadlines that are necessary. So if from when it comes to getting booked, for local meetings, one of the things, even if you're applying through Free Speaker Bureau or somebody recommends you, or any way that you're getting to meetings, I always advise that you also have some type of a social media strategy where you look up people that belong to those organizations or who are in those industries that may already belong to your network or that may be second or third connections. And try to set up, and remember, when you do social media, it's social. That means don't go there and just sell with your first thing. Hey, I'm wanting to get into this organization. Can you help me get in? Set up some kind of social communication that enables you to ask if they know anybody in that organization that they may be able to refer you to. So use your LinkedIn and Facebook contacts and let people know if there are specific organizations that you want to get into. Let people know in your personal network that you are looking for speaking opportunities, and ask them what organizations they belong to, and let them know that that you speak to groups, and let them know the pain points that you solve. A lot of times I hear people speaking too much about how they do something versus what are the problems they're solving and what are the benefits that they offer through their talks, through their workshops. People don't really care about the how until they're interested in what you have to offer. And so in the beginning, just talk about what you help people do or what problems you help them solve. Don't talk about your process. They really don't care. Okay? So in order for you to get these gigs, I would, you don't need to have a social media strategy, but having a social media strategy gives you an opportunity to get a referral from somebody in that organization, and that is always helpful. It also is helpful if you have a book or some type of a publication that you actually send along to them. So if you have a book, send them a book. Send whoever is in charge or the committee. If there's 4 people on the committee, send all 4 people a book. And I've got another slide on this one. I'll get more into that in a moment. Most people these days you need to see a video before they feel comfortable about booking you. So if that's not something that you've done yet, It's really something that you need to have. I'm going to actually have somebody doing a webinar for us who's an ex-movie maker who makes beautiful speaker videos, and I'm asking them to create an opportunity for us, for our speakers on a stage, and have it really professionally done. So that is in the works for those of you who feel like you need that. But these days, with video being so accessible, having a professional video is really becoming a must-have. And then you also have to have a speaker sheet, and hopefully that speaker sheet has media credentials on it. When possible, contact the organization by phone. We do give you the speaker application opportunity, but don't just go to the speaker application. Go to that association or that group's website. Look to see what their group is about. Look to see who those people are. Get their phone number. Call them. Have a question in mind about the meeting, and then get permission from them to send something via snail mail. Why? Because that's going to put you in a different positioning opportunity than the other people, because everybody else is just submitting the online application. So when you're applying for a speaker, to be a speaker, think of it like applying for a job. How are you going to stand out that they go, wow? And use your social media contacts to influence influencers. Try to think about how you can stand out. I mean, it's not different than any other kind of marketing. You just need to think about it a little more and ask yourself the right question. What do I do to position myself? How am I positioned? And what can I do just a little bit differently that's going to make me stand out to this particular group? You want to approach every opportunity from the other person's point of view. So keep in mind that if you're speaking to a meeting organizer or a meeting planner, you want to think about what's important to them. They don't care about you. They care about, are you going to provide fresh, interesting content? Are they going to be able to fill their seats? Will you help them get sponsors in some way, or will you turn people off? They don't want to have a prima donna speaker. They don't want speakers who are going to be a problem for them. So you don't want to act like you're a problem for them. They are interested in not being embarrassed and having a happy audience. I mean, those are the things, and they may care about other things, but basically those are the things. And so you want to, if there's anything that you are going to be able to do to help them fill seats, to help them get sponsors, to provide fresh, interesting content that's new, that they haven't seen before, that's, really different, then let them know those things. That you've got your endorsement area filled out on your Free Speaker Bureau profile. Send that to them. If you have media credentials, put your media credentials on your speaker sheet. Just make sure you've done enough to convince them that they're not going to be embarrassed, that they're going to be happy, that you're going to be great to their audience, and you're not going to embarrass them. Okay? So the perfect pitch, in order to create the perfect pitch, now I do have some information that we put on the website that was available that basically said make sure you have a succinct way of saying how your message is going to be the right thing for their target group. What is the benefit? What is the pain you're going to solve, or what is the benefit you're going to provide? And make sure you have a 1 or 2 sentence pitch that is customized to that specific audience. In other words, you want to make sure that you've got something that you can reuse, but you don't reuse the same, you want to make it each time that you make a pitch, you want to make it seem as if you've done it specifically with that group in mind. So in order to do that, what I do, my shortcut for doing that is I always go and look at the organization's website to see what it is. Firstly, I look at the event website to see what the theme of the meeting is, what their goals are, and I also look at their actual organization website if it's not the same one, because sometimes they have a site. And look to see, what the target audience is. It's just the same as any kind of sales pitch. The more you know about who it is that you're pitching to, the better your pitch is going to be, because you're going to tweak it you want to create a message that's going to be received by them, and you want to be relatable. So what I do is I copy and paste. I go through the event website to look to see what their themes are, and then I copy and paste the information, some of the information that I think is relevant from that. We try to provide a lot of that on our website where possible. But we try, you try to think about what, you step into the shoes, you step into, like, put the head on like a helmet. You try to figure out what is inside their head, what are they looking for, and then you tweak your presentation of your pitch that way. So you want to have your 1 or 2 sentence, very succinct thing that you're going to say, but somewhere in that application there is an opportunity always for you to give a narrative about why you're the best person for this keynote or for this workshop. And you want to find a way to be relatable. So, for example, I looked at our website. I just pulled off something that was there, and I saw Cambio de Colores. I'm sorry, I'm not very good Spanish pronunciation, but there's this opportunity, which is a multi-state conference about integration of immigrants in destinations in the Midwest. And so there was this, it says it's a professional development opportunity that engages practitioners, researchers, and those working with immigrant communities in sharing experiences and knowledge that facilitate the integration of immigrants in new settlement areas. Now, a lot of times when people read these things, they'll go, oh, immigrants aren't that's not my target market. No, the people that are attending this conference, it's a professional development opportunity. These are practitioners. These are psychologists. These are social workers. These are researchers. These are community activists. That's the market. It's not their market is immigrants. So if you wanted to talk to this group of professional people who are very obviously community oriented, then this would be a terrific opportunity to be able to talk to these people. So they go on to talk about what the conference theme is, and they say the conference Todos Juntos means all together and seeks to build collaboration across sectors and unite communities across differences in the common goal of supporting everyone's well-being in our changing multicultural communities. Diversity is our strength, especially when we work together, and now is the time for collaboration across disciplines, and so it goes on. So what I would do is I would take that information, I would copy it and paste it into a Notepad or WordPad document, and I would highlight the areas or the things that I think are particularly important, and I would do my entire application first in a Word document or in a WordPad or Notepad and not online. And the reason you want to do that is because websites typically time out. And if you're making your application while you're online, a lot of times you're going to lose it. So if you have everything already, sometimes it's not possible. You have to just apply online and go from page to page. But if you can download the application, do it into some kind of a document that you can have as a point of reference for yourself, you can also integrate and copy and paste keywords into it, and that's going to save you time later having to retype everything. And for most of those HTML processes on a website, what you do is you copy your answers or whatever it is that you want to put in, and then you just press Control-V, and that will paste it into those online forms. So in any case, just to give you an idea of a perfect pitch, let's say, for example, this was a conference that I wanted to speak at. Now, you might say, well, what would you speak at about this conference? Well, it could be really about anything. It could be about leadership. It could be about wellness. It could be about, bringing people together. It could be about forgiveness. It could be about eliminating fear. All those things would be perfect for this whole idea of integration of immigrants into new settlement areas, right? So you can really, depending on, or you could be a motivational speaker. You could, so there's a lot of different things that this would be applicable. It's not applicable for everybody, but it is applicable for a lot of people that may not have thought about it yet. So let's say this was a conference I wanted to speak at. I would look for an opportunity to introduce myself and position myself so that I stand out. I wouldn't just be talking about, let's say I was going to talk about bridging the let's say that was what I wanted to talk about, and how we overcome fear in other people and so on. I would introduce myself to this particular group. Now, I would never do that if this was a SHRM conference, a human resource management conference. I'd never do this. But for this group, I would introduce myself as an immigrant. I would introduce myself as someone who grew up in apartheid South Africa. I would introduce myself. I might even talk a little bit about, as some of you know, the incident that happened to me last year when I became a victim of a violent crime, and how by overcoming the fear and learning how to forgive, I was able to transcend that barrier of race and age and all those things that are problems that these people are dealing with, and I would bring that into this conversation even though it has nothing to do with what I'm going to be speaking about. I want them to know that I relate to their audience, I relate to their audience's audience, right? And I want to stand out and not be just like everybody else. If I were doing something in a medical environment or a healthcare environment, I would talk about my experiences in the healthcare system, or I would talk about something that made me stand out, that tells them, that shows them that I relate to their audience and that there's something different about me that's not just this vanilla that most people are proposing these days. Because then you just look, remember that slide I showed you about how many coaches and how many speakers and how many whatevers there are out there? When you start to integrate something, and you don't want to make this a whole long story. Sometimes people will send me an email that's like, 2 pages long, and I'm like, okay, what are they asking me about? And I can't read the whole thing because I've got like 400 emails to read. So you don't want to make it long and drawn out, but just like I said to you, as an immigrant who grew up in apartheid South Africa, I understand, the divides that people experience, right? It's one sentence. It's not a whole long story. But it allows me to position myself in a way that relates directly to these people, directly to their goal, directly to the theme of their conference that they are wanting to put on. Okay, so that is how you do a perfect pitch. And if anybody wants me to, at some point, review their pitches, let me know. But I'm telling you now, if you haven't done your homework, I will not even consider for any fee looking at your pitch, because you need to look to see what are they doing? What is their conference about? What is their theme? What is the language that they're using? And you want to also research their spheres of influence, their target audience. And then, definitely in your perfect pitch, you want to make sure that you have testimonials, that you have some way, and that's why I'm recommending that you get your testimonials in your Free Speaker Bureau profile, because then you can always send them your link, and if that has testimonials in there, they'll be able to see that. So you can send them the direct link to your profile that has those testimonials on them, and they'll be able to get that if there's not enough room in their document to be able to paste all your testimonials. Ideally, if you're speaking to a corporation, you want to try to match your testimonials to the people that you're speaking to, but if you can't, you can't. Just do the best you can, but make sure you've got good testimonials. Even if you've never really done a whole lot of speaking, you still have testimonials about you that you can pull quotes from. Okay, so as I mentioned before, you need to have that speaker sheet, that link to your profile. You need to have endorsements, and video is becoming more and more important. So according to Internet Retailer, the consumers are 85% more likely to buy a product after seeing a video than those who do not see a video. So that's pretty astounding. Now, if your target market or you're meeting the place that you want to speak at are just really local chambers, local associations, it's okay to have a homemade video. But if you're looking for the larger, more regional, more affluent organizations, then you have to have a professional video. And it'll pay for itself, the first time. It's not a big deal. Okay, so another thing in creating a perfect pitch, and this applies both in person and when you're actually doing a pitch to, and I'm going to talk a lot more about this format in the next session. I'm really going to, the next speaker series, I'm going to just talk about reaching the majority of people in, whether it be in a room, whether it be speaking or writing or whatever, how to make sure that you encompass all the different styles in which people process information, and how to use that to be able to relate to a lot of the people in the room, because most of the time we miss most of the people whose styles are different to ours. So when it comes to different things you want to cover in your narrative, you wanted to say why people should hire you. And the reason that you want to be able to do this beyond just what they've said, whoever wrote the website copy may not be the person who's actually, they may be in line with all the ideas, they usually are, and we hope that is the case. They may not be the same people. So you may say, oh, the person who wrote this copy may be such and such and such and such, but that person who wrote the copy may be different from the person or persons who are going to actually make the hiring decisions. So you want to cover all your bases, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the next session, how to use different language styles in order to get through to the most amount of people, because different people operate in different ways. So, again, this is a long game. Don't get discouraged if at first, you apply for things and you don't win every one. You will win from the experience. Whenever it's possible, if you've applied for a gig and you don't get it, try to follow up why you weren't selected and ask what you should do differently next time. Please, if you're taking notes, make this note. When possible, find out why you weren't selected and ask what you should do differently. This is important because it's going to help you get through next time, but it's more important than that. It's not just about finding out what you could do to stand out more, to be different, and who got the position instead, but it's also about developing a relationship with that person in the organization, because in that same conversation, you're going to ask them, when they start looking at speakers for their next event, when is their next event, and what do you you need to do differently, and how, you start developing a rapport, relationship. This is marketing. This is relationship marketing, just like anything, whether you're speaking to 100 people or one person, it's all relationship marketing. So you want to build, you want to have a reason. That's a great reason to call and say, I know you didn't select me, and I'm just wondering what we could have done differently, who you selected, what stood out about them, because I'm really serious about wanting to speak to your group, and I want to be able to share my message with them, and I feel like what I have to say is really important. And oh, by the way, if for whatever reason the booked speaker that you have can't make it, will you keep me in mind? If you have a cancellation, will you keep me in mind? Okay, so there's a lot of reasons that you want to make phone contact with the meeting planner or organizer or whoever it is that's booking the speakers. Calendar deadline their next event. Calendar what their event is, and then before that event happens, the next event, call your contact, send a video, send your book, whatever it is that you have to offer, make sure that you follow up. That was just the first step in the relationship. No doesn't mean no forever. It may just mean no this first time. This is an opportunity for you to establish a new relationship. And these are very powerful people. Remember that in many cases, these organizations, these events, these speaking opportunities could rocket launch your career. We're not just talking about tens of thousands of dollars in many cases. We're speaking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you want to, you need to open your mind up to possibilities and make that extra phone call. Get over whatever resistance that you have and just do it, Fear is just an illusion. There's nothing, they're not going to come through the phone. They're not going to think badly of you. There's nothing to lose by picking up the phone and calling people. And if they don't answer your call, it really is nothing about you. It's about them, and you need to get over that little hump because it's just silly. And I know, I'm not saying this unempathetically, because I've been on that side and I know that it can be difficult. So, but this is something that you really want to think about doing. The other thing I highly encourage you to do is to belong to a peer group. We have a great speaker mastermind series. We meet just about 6 of us in a couple times a month, and all do a bit of a presentation. I will be sending you out some information about that, and I encourage you all to really attend to. So just to recap, the Expert Advantage webinar can be made available to you. We typically only offer it when people first come on board, and once a year or twice a year sometimes. But for those of you that realize that you missed something really valuable, let me know. I'll send you the link. The other thing is the Speaking Fortunes. It's an excellent program. There's a lot of people here that have done that to build your business model. I highly recommend that 8-module course. If you're not already on the premium list, get onto it. You get a digest twice a week. We have the event archive. If you don't have that event archive URL, please email me or Paige, and we'll make sure you get it if you are a premium member. You also, for the professional members, have the association database. So these are the resources that are available to you. You have your workshop library. So you've got plenty of ways in that workshop library to be able to do corporate programs without having to really do anything more. Well, you'd have to refine your presentation, but pretty much there are workshops already prepared that you have access to that can give you a very big head start. And the Speaker Mastermind group starts from that. So again, the next in the series is how to grab attention in an ADD world. That's what we're going to be talking about. That's next Friday at the same time. And we'll be talking about how to engage and motivate for maximum effect. And again, the reason that I'm doing this now rather than waiting and spacing out these webinars is so that for those of you who are going to be participating in the Speakers Mastermind, that you get that information in advance, and so that you can work with it and have some heads up. Okay, and so I hope that you've gained a little bit of clarity. I hope that I've given you a lot of information today that could be helpful. I don't mean to overload you in any way, but just like anything, as I said before, when I got my new contact lenses, it didn't happen right away that they found the right ones to work. And, once I did get those contact lenses working and drove back and forth across the bridge, I also came home and realized that, my floor was a lot dirtier than I'd ever expected, so it caused a lot more work as well. But it was all worth it. Okay, so do we have any questions? Any questions? Loving this. Well, thank you, MG, for loving this. Yes, there was some hissing at the beginning, but it's all gone now, I'm hoping. Yes. Okay. Okay, do we have any other questions? You want to send the link for the webinar. Okay, so, could you please, those people who are asking for links, can you please send me an email, because I just see your initials here. I don't have your email address on here. So we can get that to you if you send me an email. And if you email Paige at support@Free Speaker Bureau, then that will also get this. Okay. No more questions. No more questions. Does that mean TV and radio interviews? Media credentials. Okay, good question. Great question. Thank you. When I talk about media credentials, what I'm speaking about is, and we do this for our elite members, is you get media credentials if any article about you or any interview about you has been mentioned in a newspaper, a magazine, online, whatever. Those are what we call media credentials. And unfortunately, I didn't put my media credentials up because I didn't do a whole lot of introduction for myself. But those media credentials are typically, you'll see, the Miami Herald, the Boston Globe, NBC, any media credentials that you have. If your articles have appeared in any magazine, whether it be an online magazine or a publication, you can use those media credentials if you've been mentioned somewhere, if you've been an expert somewhere. So anything like that will give you media credentials. Doesn't need to be a TV or radio interview. So I hope that helps. But if you get, often if you put out an article, like a good article, and you send it out through PR Web or one of those services, often you can get them to pick up your article or the press release about you or whatever, and then any of the people that pick up those press releases, you can use their logos as media credentials. Does that answer your question, Bob? Who do you target in an organization to pitch? How do you reach out to them? Okay, Barbara, you've got, how do you position yourself as an expert when starting out if you haven't done any corporate talks yet? Barbara, I recommend that you do the Speaking Fortunes training. And if you go through the Speaking Fortunes training, I promise you, you will learn how to position yourself. And if you have any questions, everybody who's here who's gone through the Speaking Fortunes training will tell you that I'm very accessible if you have any questions. So if you've not done corporate talks yet, you just need to let me know that you need to do the Speaking Fortunes training, because that's more, that's an 8-module course. That's more than I can do in this time frame that we have right now. But you do not need you do not need to have experience to get experience. You just need to figure out how you're going to position yourself as the expert that you are. Okay? Okay, who else has a message? Thank you, Barbara. Todd, you can't hear because you do not have your audio connected, I'm afraid, so I can't answer that question, and you cannot hear me. Okay. What other presentations did you say I should watch as a priority as a brand new member? Sabrina, the Expert Advantage Secrets. Start there. Okay? Start there. And just send us an email and let us know. Okay, Freddie, you sent your email. Please don't send us an email with your email, and we can reply to you with that, with the information, rather than here, because I'm sure you understand the logistics of that. Will there be a recording of event 2 and 3? Okay, so Marjorie, same thing that I said at the beginning of this. We do try to record them. We have them available for a short period of time, not indefinitely, and often recordings don't happen. This is technology. So, if you can make it live, please make it live. If not, we'll do our best. It's our intention to record it and have it available for 24 hours. Okay? Thank you for an awesome webinar. Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate that you appreciate it. Okay, thanks, Griffin. Thank you. And Godwin said, do you have any program for students? Godwin, can you, when you say students, I consider everybody who's learning anything a student. So you mean a student in a college or a student in a college student? Well, I would say it's the same. Approach. I need to understand. Godwin, do me a favor and send me an email about what it is that you do and what you're looking to do. Like, are you looking to improve your speaking? Give me some background. Send me an email, because you're probably the only or one of the few college students on this line. So go ahead and send me an email. Tell me what you're trying to do, and I will respond to you. Is that okay? And I'll try to help you the best I can, or direct you where I can if I can answer your question. You're welcome. Yes, Marjorie, you're welcome for the devil in the details. You're welcome, Sabrina. Angie said, thanks, Mandy. Great information. I appreciate you as always. Thank you, Angie. I appreciate you. You know that. And I don't know if Anne's on the line, but give her a call. I've been thinking about her lately, so please call her. Thank you. Okay, so, okay, great. I think I have all the questions. Do I have anybody else? All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I hope to see you again. Well, not really see you, but sort of see you. See your initials in front of my screen. I hope to see you next week, and thank you so much. I so enjoyed. This was such a great group, and I love you all, and can't wait to get back with you next week. So have a great, productive week, and I will speak to you later.